The unthinkable encounter. The hegemony war fleet hung in the void like a constellation of metallic predators, their sleek hulls reflecting the distant starlight. Commander Maya Chen watched through the viewport of the diplomatic vessel Handshake as the final approach vector locked in. 37 warships, each capable of reducing a continent to ash, arranged in perfect geometric formation. The display of power was deliberate, impossible to misinterpret. "Final approach confirmed," announced Lieutenant Reeves from the navigation console. "Hegemony flagship has acknowledged our transmission and granted docking clearance." Maya nodded, her fingers unconsciously tracing the faint scar behind her left ear. The neural augmentation that had earned her this assignment. The N7 diplomatic interface was supposed to help her understand alien thought patterns, attune her brain to the subtle fluctuations in language and intent that humans typically missed. Experimental technology for an experimental mission. "I don't like this," muttered General Harker, the military attaché assigned to the delegation. "The hegemony doesn't negotiate. Not once in 80 years of contact. Why start now?" Maya turned to face the weathered soldier. "Because we fought them to a standstill. 3 systems, 3 stalemates. They're pragmatic, if nothing else." "They're predators," Harker corrected. "And predators don't invite prey to dinner unless they're serving them as the main course." The rest of the 12-person delegation maintained a tense silence as the Handshake completed its final approach to the enormous Hegemony flagship. At over 8 kilometers long, the alien vessel dwarfed humanity's largest ships. Captain Lawrence, commander of the Handshake, turned in his chair. "Commander Chen, you've studied the hegemony protocols. Any last words of wisdom before we enter the belly of the beast?" Maya straightened her formal diplomatic uniform, its deep blue fabric embroidered with the Silver Earth Confederation insignia. "Remember that the hegemony values hierarchical precision. Address only the highest-ranking official present unless directly questioned. Maintain formal posture at all times. And whatever happens, show no fear." "That last one might be a tall order," someone muttered. The ship shuddered slightly as the docking clamps engaged. A series of metallic thuds reverberated through the hull as pressure equalized between the vessels. "Atmospheric analysis complete," reported the science officer. "Compatible with human physiology, though gravity registers at 1.2 Earth standard." Maya took a deep breath. "Shall we make history, then?" The delegation disembarked in precise order. Maya first as lead diplomat, followed by General Harker, the scientific and economic representatives, and finally the cultural attaches. Captain Lawrence and his crew would remain aboard the Handshake, ready for immediate departure if needed. The hegemony reception area was cavernous, with soaring ceilings that disappeared into shadow. The architecture favored sharp angles and asymmetrical designs that felt subtly threatening to human perceptions. Standing in perfect formation were 7 hegemony representatives, tall, vaguely insectoid beings with iridescent exoskeletons and multiple limbs arranged in complex hierarchies of function. The leader, distinguished by elaborate cranial ridges and deep purple coloration, stepped forward. Its translator device emitted a burst of flattened syllables. "The human delegation is acknowledged. You stand before the 7th Adjutant of the Hegemony War Council." Maya bowed precisely to the depth specified in the diplomatic briefings, showing respect without submission. "We bring greetings from Earth and the Confederation of Human Worlds," she replied. "We appreciate the hegemony's willingness to engage in dialogue." The adjutant's compound eyes glittered. "The concept of willingness is irrelevant. The hegemony analyzes, calculates, and determines optimal courses of action. Current calculations indicate that communication may yield superior outcomes to continued military engagement. We share that assessment," Maya replied carefully. The hegemony leader made a gesture with its secondary limbs that Maya recognized as indicating transition. "You will follow. Accommodations have been prepared. Formal discussions commence in 15 of your hours." As the delegation was led deeper into the flagship, Maya felt the neural augment behind her ear growing warm. a sensation that wasn't supposed to happen. The N7 was designed to be completely unnoticeable in operation. She touched it discreetly, feeling an unexpected pulse beneath her fingertips. Their quarters were Spartan but adequately furnished with approximations of human furniture. The hegemony guards posted outside were clearly visible through transparent sections in the walls, a not-so-subtle reminder of their status as potential hostages, not honored guests. "Well, that went better than expected," remarked Dr. Eliza Novak, the delegation's xenobiologist. "Nobody got dissected." General Harker snorted. "Yet." Maya pulled up the briefing materials on her tablet. "We need to prepare for tomorrow's session." The hegemony doesn't understand the concept of small talk. Every word must advance a concrete objective. As the team worked through potential negotiation strategies, Maya's discomfort grew. The neural augment was now throbbing painfully, sending occasional flashes of light across her vision. She excused herself and stepped into the private washroom facility. In the mirror, she could see redness spreading from the augmentation site. More concerning were the lines of blue light now visible beneath her skin, tracing neural pathways from the implant through her temple. This was definitely not in the operational manual. A sudden stabbing pain dropped her to her knees. Through the haze of agony, Maya heard alarmed voices from the main room, followed by the distinctive sound of hegemony weapons powering up. She staggered to the door, throwing it open to find two hegemony guards inside the quarters. One held General Harker by the throat, while the other pointed a weapon at the rest of the delegation. "What's happening?" Maya demanded. The guard with the weapon turned to her. "Deception detected. Long-range communications attempt registered. Protocol dictates immediate termination of diplomatic contact." "There must be a mistake," Maya insisted, even as the pain from her implant reached near unbearable levels. "We've sent no communications." The hegemony guard advanced toward her. "Scans detect active transmission technology within your cranial structure. You will be dissected for analysis." As the alien reached for her, something extraordinary happened. The moment its limb came within 30 centimeters of Maya's head, its exoskeleton armor panels locked up. The weapon it held powered down with an audible whine. The second guard experienced the same phenomenon, releasing Harker as its limbs seized up. A high-pitched alarm began to sound throughout the ship. Maya clutched her head as the neural implant sent waves of pain and strange information flooding through her consciousness. She could somehow sense the ship's systems around her. Vast networks of quantum-entangled processors that controlled everything from life support to weapons. And somehow, impossibly, those systems were responding to her presence, her thoughts. "What did you do?" Harker demanded, massaging his throat. "I don't know," Maya gasped. "Something's wrong with my implant." The ship lurched suddenly, artificial gravity fluctuating. Through the transparent wall sections, they could see hegemony crew members rushing through the corridors, many experiencing the same seizure-like symptoms as the guards whenever they came near their section. "The N7 was never just a translation device," Dr. Novak said quietly. "Was it, Commander?" Maya stared at her hands, where the same blue lines were now visible beneath her skin. "If it was, I wasn't informed." Alarms continued to blare as the flagship systems appeared to be failing sequentially. Through the viewport, they could see other ships in the hegemony fleet experiencing similar disturbances, running lights flickering, positioning thrusters firing erratically. "We need to get back to the handshake," Harker ordered. "Now." The delegation moved cautiously into the corridor, where they found more demobilized hegemony guards. Any alien that came within Maya's proximity simply froze, their technology failing around them. "It's you," Dr. Novak said with growing excitement. "You're generating some kind of interference field." The journey back to the docking bay became increasingly chaotic. Entire sections of the flagship were losing power or operating erratically. Hegemony crew members fled from Maya as though she carried a plague, which in a technological sense she did. They arrived at the docking bay to find Captain Lawrence and a security team waiting in the airlock. Weapons ready. The whole fleet's going haywire, Lawrence reported. What the hell happened in there? Her, Harker said, pointing at Maya. She's what happened. As they rushed back aboard the Handshake, Maya caught a glimpse of the 7th Adjutant watching from across the hangar bay, its compound eyes fixed on her with unmistakable fear. Once sealed inside their ship, Dr. Novak immediately began scanning Maya with medical equipment. The implant has integrated with your nervous system far beyond design parameters. It's creating a cascading disruption field that specifically targets hegemony technology. That's impossible, Maya protested. The N7 is just a neural translator. Apparently not, Captain Lawrence said grimly. And I'm betting our superiors knew exactly what would happen when they sent you here. As the Handshake disengaged from the flagship, they watched in astonishment as the entire hegemony fleet remained paralyzed, unable to pursue or fire weapons. The pain in Maya's head began to subside, but the blue lines remained visible beneath her skin. We need to return to Earth immediately, Harker said. Whatever they've turned you into, Commander, you're now the most important strategic asset in the Confederation. Maya stared out at the disabled alien armada, a terrible understanding dawning. They didn't send me to negotiate peace, she whispered. They sent me as a weapon. As the Handshake accelerated away from the crippled hegemony fleet, Maya wondered what exactly she had become, and whether humanity had just escalated an already devastating war to unimaginable new heights. The human variable. 3 days into their journey back to Earth, Maya's condition stabilized. The blue neural pathways beneath her skin faded to barely visible traces, though they flared brightly whenever she focused her thoughts on technology around her. The Handshake's systems remained unaffected, suggesting the disruption field specifically targeted hegemony tech, or could be controlled with practice. Maya sat in the ship's medical bay as Dr. Novak completed another round of scans. Your brain activity is unlike anything I've ever seen, the doctor said, studying the holographic display. The N7 implant has essentially rewritten your neural architecture, creating something hybrid. And nobody thought to mention this possibility before they put it in my head. General Harker, who had been silently observing from the doorway, stepped forward. Some possibilities aren't included in the briefing materials, Commander. Maya met his gaze. You knew. He didn't deny it. I knew there was a classified secondary function to the N7. I wasn't briefed on specifics, plausible deniability, and all that. But yes, I suspected you were carrying more than a translation device. They turned me into a weapon without my consent, Maya said, the lights in the medical bay dimming momentarily as her anger flared. They turned you into humanity's best hope for survival, Harker corrected. The hegemony doesn't negotiate with species they consider prey. They exterminate, assimilate, or enslave. In 80 years of contact, they've destroyed 17 civilizations. We're just the first to fight them to a standstill. Dr. Novak interjected. The ethics of what was done to you are questionable at best, criminal at worst. But now we need to understand what you can do, and what it's doing to you. Before Maya could respond, Captain Lawrence's voice came over the intercom. General Harker, Commander Chen, you're needed on the bridge immediately. They arrived to find the bridge crew gathered around the long-range scanner display. Lawrence pointed to a formation of signals pursuing their course. Hegemony pursuit vessels, he explained, smaller and faster than the capital ships we left behind. They'll intercept us before we reach Confederation space. Maya studied the tactical display. How did they recover so quickly? Those ships weren't part of the fleet we encountered, Harker said grimly. They must have been on patrol elsewhere and received a distress call. Lawrence nodded. The Handshake isn't a warship. We're faster than most vessels our size, but we can't outrun dedicated pursuit craft. We can't let them capture Commander Chen, Harker stated flatly. The strategic advantage her condition represents is too valuable. Maya felt a chill at the implication that they might consider sacrificing the ship and crew to prevent her from falling into enemy hands. She looked at the tactical display again, an idea forming. "We don't need to outrun them," she said slowly. "Not if I can affect their ships the same way I affected the flagship." "The disruption field appears to have a limited range," Dr. Novak cautioned. "You'd need to be much closer than weapons range." "Then we let them catch up," Maya said, "just enough to bring them into my range." Harker and Lawrence exchanged looks. "It's risky," the captain said. "Do we have a better option?" Maya asked. Over the next 8 hours, the handshake gradually reduced speed, allowing the pursuit vessels to gain ground. Maya spent the time in meditation, practicing control over the strange new abilities the N7 had granted her. She discovered she could direct the disruption effect with increasing precision, targeting specific systems while leaving others untouched. When the lead hegemony vessel came within 5,000 kilometers, close enough for visual confirmation, but still outside weapons range, Maya positioned herself in the observation dome at the top of the ship. The transparent alloy gave her an unobstructed view of space and, more importantly, a direct line of sight to the approaching enemies. "I need silence," she told the small team accompanying her. "This is going to take concentration." Maya closed her eyes, feeling the implant warming behind her ear. The blue neural pathways illuminated beneath her skin as she extended her awareness outward, searching for the unique quantum signatures of hegemony technology. It felt like stretching an invisible muscle she never knew she possessed. The first contact with the alien ship sent a jolt through her system. Their neural networks were vast, complex, and utterly alien, yet somehow familiar to her augmented senses. She could feel the ship's systems like points of light connected by webs of energy and information. With careful precision, she began to introduce disruption into their navigation systems, subtle at first, then increasingly aggressive. On the tactical display, the hegemony vessels began to drift off course, their formation breaking apart as they lost coordination. "It's working," Harker said softly. Maya pushed harder, targeting propulsion systems next. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she felt resistance, the hegemony systems attempting to adapt, to route around the disruption. The largest vessel, presumably the command ship, began broadcasting a complex signal pattern that Maya instinctively recognized as a countermeasure. Her head pounded with exertion as she focused all her attention on that ship. The blue lines on her skin blazed like circuitry on fire. Blood began to trickle from her nose. "She can't sustain this," Dr. Novak warned. "Her neural readings are redlining." But Maya pushed through the pain, reaching deeper into the command ship systems until she found what she was looking for, the central neural core that coordinated all functions. With a final surge of effort, she disrupted its quantum entanglement patterns, shattering the delicate connections. On the display, the hegemony command ship went dark, its systems completely offline. The remaining vessels immediately broke pursuit, moving to assist their stricken flagship. Maya collapsed to the deck, consciousness fading as her overtaxed brain finally surrendered to exhaustion. She woke in the medical bay an unknown time later. Dr. Novak stood over her, concern evident on her face. "You've been unconscious for 26 hours," the doctor informed her. "The neural strain nearly killed you." Maya tried to sit up but found herself too weak. "The hegemony ships, still disabled as far as we can tell," Novak replied. "We're well beyond their reach now, 3 days from Confederation space." General Harker entered the medical bay, looking more impressed than Maya had ever seen him. "Strategic Command has been briefed on your capabilities. They're calling it a game changer." "They used me," Maya said flatly. "Turned me into a weapon without my knowledge or consent." Harker didn't deny it. "Project Oracle has been running for 15 years. You're the 7th recipient of the implant, but the first successful integration. The others didn't survive the procedure," he admitted. "Your genetic profile showed the highest compatibility we've ever seen, natural neural plasticity combined with rare receptor configurations. In simpler terms, you were born for this." Maya laughed bitterly. "Born to be weaponized. Born to save humanity," Harker countered. The hegemony has technology centuries beyond ours. Without some equalizing factor, they would eventually wear us down through attrition alone. You've given us that factor. Dr. Novak, who had been silently monitoring Maya's vitals, finally spoke up. There's something else you should know, Commander. The integration process is continuing. Each time you use the ability, the neural pathways expand. I can't predict how far it will go or what the ultimate effects will be. Maya closed her eyes, processing this information. So I might lose myself entirely. Or become something more, Novak suggested. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. Over the following days, as the handshake approached Earth, Maya considered her options. Strategic Command would want to use her immediately, sending her against key hegemony targets. She would become the ultimate covert weapon, a diplomatic officer whose mere presence could cripple enemy fleets and installations. But the power she now wielded came with profound questions. If humanity used her this way, would they be any better than the hegemony? And what would happen to diplomacy when the aliens realized humans had deployed a technological virus disguised as a peace envoy? When they finally arrived at Earth, the handshake was met by an honor guard and high-ranking officials from both the military and civilian government. Maya stood at the airlock, straightening her uniform one last time. They're going to try to control you, Harker warned quietly. Use you as a strategic asset only they can direct. I know, Maya replied, but they forget something important. What's that? She smiled slightly. I can disable their technology too. As the airlock opened and cameras flashed to record the historic return, Maya Chen stepped forward, not as the weapon they had created, but as something they never anticipated. A human who would determine her own destiny, and perhaps the destiny of two civilizations locked in existential conflict. Welcome home, Commander Chen, said Admiral Harrison, the head of Strategic Command. Your service to humanity has been exceptional. Maya nodded politely. Thank you, Admiral. But we need to talk about what happens next, and I'm afraid you might not like all of my terms. As they led her toward the waiting officials, Maya felt the neural pathways beneath her skin humming with potential. The hegemony had always believed that the elimination of unpredictability was the path to dominance. They had built their entire civilization on the principle that everything could be calculated, controlled, and conquered through superior technology and absolute hierarchy. They had never accounted for the human variable, the stubborn refusal to follow predictable patterns or accept predetermined fates. As Maya prepared to negotiate not just for her future, but for humanity's, she embraced that unpredictability as her greatest strength. Perhaps that, more than any technology, was humanity's true advantage among the stars.